part 2. Expect this one to be long as well. But let's get to it. Unlike last year unlike the 2012 season where there were only 2 8-8 teams, this past year they had 1, 2, 3. They had more than that, obviously. But they had their fair share of 7 and 9 teams as well, including the last team I mentioned in part 1, the Detroit Lions. I already mentioned them. Let's get to it. 11 through 20. The Tennessee Titans. Well, what can I say? Chris Johnson's got to go now. Of course, losing Jake Locker for the season didn't help matters. It never helps matters to lose Jake Locker. And he was actually starting to shine in 2013. Of course, then they had to rely on Ryan Fitzpatrick, and we all know how Ryan Fitzpatrick does. He'll give you a few good games, but then afterwards, you'll see the bullshit coming. You'll see the bullshit afterwards. It's kind of like, of course he played with the Buffalo Bills, so kind of brought that Buffalo bullshit with him, But yeah, Chris Johnson once again a subpar year. Not his worst season, but certainly not his best season. Obviously, they got to make a decision on him. Of course, Munchak finally getting fired. Of course, they bring in Ken Whisenhunt, which I find a very interesting hire for some reason. I do, because Whisenhunt's not a bad coach, but he just didn't find the quarterback that he was looking for after Warner retired with the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, that was my only concern about them. And it cost him. It cost him his job. Not the fact that he got rid of Matt Leinart, because I still don't think Matt Leinart was a good quarterback. Just simple as that. But in any event, back to the Titans. They have more questions than answers as far as I'm concerned. Their defense is not too bad. Better than last year, but then again, okay, I take that back. There's still some issues. They gave up a 50-point game against the Broncos. Kind of a big deal to me. Because the Broncos never score 50 points in a game. And yet they did that 3 times. More on the Broncos in a second. I'm still on part 2. Moving on. The New York Giants went 7-9. What can I say? They started 0-6. Obviously the worst start in a long time. When you're not, and of course, when you include the non-strike seasons as the last time the Giants had an 0-6 start. But yeah, Eli Manning played the exact opposite of Peyton Manning in the regular season anyway. Of course, during the first half of the season, you would say Eli Manning was this close to getting the interceptions record, as opposed to Peyton Manning, of course. But yeah, once again, none of the New York teams make the postseason. For the second consecutive year. Whatever there. Their defense didn't do too bad. They did better. They played better later on in the season to finish 7-9, of course. So they were 7-2 the rest of the way. That's a pretty good stretch. Too bad the 0-6 start cost them, but in any event, it is what it is there. But now I know that Tom Coughlin will be coaching one more season in the National Football League. Not just the Giants. Period. I think next year will be it for him. I do. So we know the Giants will be playing hard once again in 2014. Moving on. The St. Louis Rams. Once again, Jeff Fisher falls one game short of completing from completing a record that he owns. A record that he has owned with the Tennessee Titans. 8-8. Holy shit, he made 8-8 his bitch in Tennessee. He can't even do it in St. Louis. who knows? The Rams defense obviously did pretty well. They are obviously the bright spot. You know, Chris Long, of course, and Robert Quinn. Those are two really good pass rushers. Sam Bradford was actually having a pretty good year up until his torn ACL. But now, of course, I think they really need to draft a quarterback. I'm still not convinced that Sam Bradford's the guy, even though he was having a good season before he got injured. I'm still not convinced. I'm sorry. You know, and guess what? And all his paychecks are starting to run dry from his rookie contract. It could be his only contract where he gets a big, large sum of money or whatever. You know? But in any event, it is what it is. I'll just leave it at that there. But yeah, big concerns. Tavon Austin had a pretty good season. Some say he should have gotten Rookie of the Year, or at least Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't see it. But in any event, it is what it is. How much time do I have left in this? Okay. Well, in any event, I'll try and keep this short, but I'm not making any promises. I'll just leave it at that. Chicago Bears, 8-8. This is the first of the 8-8 football teams. The Bears, just like the Lions, had everything aligned for them, but or so they thought. Because Cutler was out, and then Josh McCown was actually playing better than Jay Cutler. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true, sadly. He was. I'm not saying Cutler. It doesn't mean you don't go with Cutler moving forward, you know. But then again, they blow it once again on the final regular season game the final game of the regular season against the Green Bay Packers. You know, of course, Cutler comes back. Obviously, expect rust. I mean, the last 3 games of the season, you know, Cutler was actually playing better and playing out of that rust. But it was too little too late because the Packers beat the Bears. And, of course, the Bears were out of the playoffs. You know, at least they didn't sign Jay Cutler to a ridiculously long-term bunch of money contract. Oh, wait a minute. They did, didn't they? Ugh. You know, I like Jay Cutler, but, you know, I think the Bears did it I think the Bears signed him to a long-term deal so that they don't have to worry about him going elsewhere and possibly win a championship. Because I don't think they're going to do that in Chicago. Who knows? I hope I'm wrong, because I'm still rooting for Cutler to get that Super Bowl ring. You know? Simple as that. I mean, as long as the Broncos are... But of course, I'll root for the Broncos first, of course, but that's another story. But you know, let's just say it like this. The Bears, they didn't panic this time around when Cutler got injured. You know, Trestman did a better job than Lovie Smith did as far as dealing with that. And they have good weapons with Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey. They have 2 number 1 receivers. I can't believe I'm saying that. And Martellus Bennett came out of fucking nowhere and became not one of the, I'm not going to say the top 10, but near the top 10 as far as tight ends are concerned. So you got to put that in consideration. You know? But their defense was clearly not the same without Urlacher, of course, Urlacher retiring. Of course, they didn't, forget all that. They didn't even welcome him back, basically. But of course, no Lance Briggs. I mean, of course, even when Lance Briggs came back, he was still going to be rusty as well. And their defense was not the same Bears defense. They weren't the monsters of the midway or whatever the fuck. They weren't even 2010 good. I mean, it says a lot. But so obviously their defense needs to be the focal point again. But let's move on. All right, the Steelers once again 8-8. They start 0-4. Of course, they start 2-6, then finish 6-2. Roethlisberger actually had a pretty good season. The Steelers defense, still middle of the pack, but they got to. It's time to say goodbye to some of these old players. Kiesel has got to go. He's like the oldest player on the defense. And the Steelers. It's not like the Steelers are. And of course, the Steelers, they're over the cap again. And it's like, holy shit. But in any event, I digress. Can we stop bitching about Todd Haley and saying that Todd Haley is not a good offensive coordinator? He's a damn good offensive coordinator. They didn't need Mike Wallace. What the fuck? I said last year that they needed to find a way to get Mike Wallace back. Well, obviously not. Mike Wallace goes elsewhere. The Steelers' offense, Ben Roethlisberger still do fine. Gotta give Ben his due here. He's a piece of fucking shit, but whatever. And of course, they really should get. Of course, Dick LeBeau's going to be coming back for another season, I believe. I could be wrong. I haven't checked. Don't know, don't care, but he is going to be back. And I'm not going to blame him for wanting another paycheck. Man's got to make a paycheck. So, but the facts are still the facts. The Steelers' defense not as good as they were in previous years or previous decades, to be perfectly honest with you. You can't expect the Steelers to be good every year. But in any event, all right, the Baltimore Ravens, the defending Super Bowl champions, once again. Of course, became the second straight team to not make the postseason after winning the championship the previous year. The Super Bowl, that is. Yeah, and of course, this is what happens when you pay Joe Flacco all the money. You gotta let go of all these players. No Anquan Bolden, no deal. No big deal, no deal, period. Just no deal. They did get better late in the stretch. And then when Dennis Pitta came back, of course, which was already too little, too late. But then again, they still had a chance to make the playoffs before losing to the Patriots in Week 16 and then the Bengals in Week 17. That did not help matters for them either. Their defense did okay. But Terrell Suggs was actually having a good season through the first half, but then the second half, the wheels fell off for him. We'll wait and see. Of course, they got a new offensive coordinator now. I forget who they hired, but I don't care at this point. But yeah, obviously the Ravens, hopefully Joe Flacco proves that he is worth the money this time around. Obviously, Ozzie Newsome, one of the best GMs in the game. So let's just wait and see what happens with him. Moving on, quickly, to the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, 8-8 for the third straight year. Had a chance to make the playoffs for the third straight year, and they fucking blow it at the end. I actually had the Cowboys finally clinching the NFC East. They probably would have won it this year. They probably would have done it this year had Romo not gotten hurt. I can't blame it all on Romo this year. I'm shocking. I'm not going to let Romo off the hook, but shit, that defense was fucking horrible. They were the worst defense in the NFL that year. You can thank Jerry Jones firing Rob Ryan. That was a great decision, wasn't it? All Rob Ryan did with the Saints was turn the worst defense in NFL history to the number 4 defense this past season. Yeah, he totally fucking sucked. Dumbass. But hey, at least the Cowboys will, as long as the Cowboys get rolling again, wait, what's that? They're still over the fucking cap once again because of Romo's ridiculous bullshit contract. Let's call it what it is. Jesus Christ, But you can't blame the choke on Romo this time because Romo didn't fucking play. The regular season finale was Kyle Orton, and he was disguised as Tony Romo apparently because he threw the game-ending interception at the end of the game. What did I just say? Who cares? But put up or fucking shut up for 2014 for Tony Romo. No more excuses for this guy. This has to be the year for the Dallas Cowboys. Problem is, the Giants are going to want some fucking vengeance. So there you go. Alright, number 18, the New York Jets, also 8-8. Why did I say number 18? I'll never figure it out, but... This was the team, obviously, that everybody thought, including me, that would probably go 2-14, but I forgot it's Rex Ryan. He's still a good defensive-minded coach. I believe their defensive rookie. I forget the guy's name. I think it's Sheldon Richardson or whatever his fucking name is. The defensive rookie of the year. I could be wrong. Don't care. Geno Smith didn't play too bad, but then again, he was thrown into the wolves constantly. He proved that he wasn't fucking ready to be an NFL starter. He needed the competition. He didn't win it the right way, you know. Problem was David Garrard once again got hurt to the point where he finally had to retire. And I like David Garrard. I thought he was better than people gave him credit for because he played for the Jaguars. Then Sanchez got hurt, and of course it was ridiculous the way he got hurt because he was playing with the third string offensive lineman in a fucking preseason game. What the gee, not defended Sanchez entirely, but give me a break. Of course, the spoiler victory over the Miami Dolphins to kick the Dolphins out of the playoffs obviously helped Rex Ryan keep his job. That's why he's given another chance. And of course, I can understand their frustration because I think there's a good reason why people want Rex Ryan gone. But let's give Rex Ryan one more chance. Let's see what happens. Let's go from there. Speaking of the Miami Dolphins, of course, also 8-8. What can I say about them? They did not play. They were this close to making the postseason. They controlled their own destiny. And they get shut out by Buffalo. And then they got upset, lost at home against the Jets. Then you add the bullshit bullying scandal. And I call bullshit on that. That's just what it is. Bullshit. Jonathan Martin was involved in those stupid cafeteria pranks where they invite offensive lineman teammate over to sit with them, and then they leave. I mean, he was a part of that. But now he's pissed off because it happened to him. That's why there was a bullying. That's why he got upset, slammed his tray, and walked out on the team. Holy shit. And of course, Richie Incognito, a little bit of sour grapes there. I can't rip Richie entirely. I mean, even though he is becoming a piece of shit more and more, which shouldn't surprise anybody. But still, as far as the whole bullshit thing, I can't believe. I mean, whatever there. I'm not taking any sides. Incognito's gone. Of course, he had a little bit of a Twitter rant. Which, of course, he basically waved bye-bye to his NFL career. He's got to find another occupation now. But Jonathan Martin, I believe he should be gone too. Because it's obvious he can't fucking play in the NFL. He can't fucking handle it. Whatever there. As far as the play goes, very uninspiring. Tannehill didn't really do much. Then again, he had a shit offensive line. Which started with Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin. I mean, both those guys didn't really do anything to. Then Tyson Clabo from the Falcons, of course, that didn't help matters. Joe Philbin probably should have been fired. They finally fired Ireland, the guy who drafted Jonathan Martin. Hint, hint. Anyway, I'm just saying, get the fuck out of here. And of course, leads me to the only team, to the only 10-6 team that did not make the postseason, the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals did go 10-6, but it wasn't all fucking pretty. Carson Palmer had multiple 2+ interception games, and I'm running out of battery, so I got to make this quickly. The Cardinals defense obviously was the bright spot, but let's just see, and let's be honest here. The Cardinals, you know what happens when a 10-6 football team does not make the playoffs? What happens the following year? They end up doing worse. And before you start giving me the Giants, yes, the Giants made the Super Bowl after going 10-6, but they still went 9-7, and the only reason why they made the postseason was because the NFC East was the shittiest division that season, and it's going to remain the shittiest division for at least a couple more seasons. You know, but back to the Cardinals. Carson Palmer, you know, and I know the Cardinals are not going to make the Super Bowl next year. I don't think they're going to even make the playoffs. First off, the next Super Bowl is in Glendale, so the NFL is going to make sure that the Cardinals don't even make the playoffs. I mean, it's just simple as that. Plus, I don't think the Cardinals are that good offensively. You know, Bruce Arians didn't really prove that much. I mean, yeah, they got off to a hot start, to that really hot streak late in the season, but they still missed the playoffs and deserved to miss the playoffs. You know, they can bitch about all they want about the current format, but at the end of the day, the Cardinals deserve to miss the playoffs. Had they swept the St. Louis Rams, which were still horrible offensively, you know, people wouldn't be saying the same shit. All right. I'll explain the playoff teams in part 3 coming up.